Hearts heal quickly, part two. Starting with the end game now, because that's what you should do. Um, James Blake has a new album out today called Trying Times. These were some trying times for my opponent, Karthik, 1500 player. You know, there are platitudes. People say chess is brutal all the time. And this is a very sentimental chess channel, I realize. As we get stronger, we will try to keep mistakes of sentimentality to a minimum. But we're all human around here. Anyway, when they say chess is brutal, they mean I gained 10 rating points for this win. Queen to g7 checkmate was it, but the checkmate was unavoidable after he dodged this check that I threw with king to f8 rather than king to h8. And here you can entice by moving the queen to h8 and forcing his queen to block, because there's nowhere he can go with this check because my pawn is covering the e7 square. There's nowhere he can go. He has to recapture, and then that recapture of my queen gives me the one space that I need in between the pawn and the king to promote. So after this dodge, checkmate was unavoidable. Anyway, that little blunder, and my opponent played an excellent chess match. He played an excellent chess match, 67 moves long, and proof of the adage, you can play 66 brilliant moves in chess. One mistake is enough to cost you the game. Brave hearts heal quickly. Karthik, I hope you're out there somewhere. Healing! Because chess is a healing game. That's what it's all about. Anyway, so checkmate was unavoidable after this dodge, block, capture, recapture, the end. We'll back up a little bit more to show y'all how it played out, but this is a queen in game. And the queen trade, the queen exchange, happened at move 59 and 60. That's really late for a queen exchange. And proof of, not proof, but an argument as to why a lot of people like to get the queens off the board quickly. Queens can do so much. There's so many available moves. And so you're really signing yourself up for a marathon if you keep the queens in the game through 60 moves plus, because you're having to evaluate all those potential moves for yourself and your opponent every single time. And that's irreducible unless there's a queen exchange. Or unless you see a queen sack, which leads directly to mate. Those are rare but beautiful, etc., etc. Okay, so the queens almost never came off the board, and we should back up a little bit in the analysis. The queen exchange came here at move 59-60. There are a lot of places where it could have come, and then the other thing is the question of queen exchange becomes all the more pressing and urgent when there's a pawn about to promote. So this game would have been one thing. I'm in fact down for probably 15 moves of this endgame. But because this pawn is sitting there on d6 just asking to be promoted, he has all the pressure. And his pawns aren't very far advanced, and so I am not feeling that same pressure. And the queen can't do it alone. The queen can't do it alone. So these are some things to remember. We can back up a little bit and see where there's another opportunity to queen exchange. I thought I had seen one. Okay, well, after this opening's modern. He advances the pawn. I offer a delayed sort of queen's gambit. My whole idea was to win London, play with the London, but it's not a technical London. or a classic or purist London because I started with this modern opening. But either way, get the dark square bishop out, have these two knights on these sort of staging squares in front of the king and queen, and then develop that way. For the most part, it worked. The computer does not like this offer of a delayed queen's gambit. The computer just wants me to castle. Not that big of a difference because I ended up castling anyway, kingside. But that's the board position. Oh, and the computer, Stockfish, Fishy, wants the queen exchange to come here, basically. So offered us some helpful fringe line here. And you can see just how much different and how much maybe cleaner or simpler or sharper or whatever the game might have been if the queen exchange had come and moved 12. Anyway, it didn't because I played this sort of gambit. And here was the real decision to me. Like I always feel pretty comfortable moving my c pawn out. It's funny playing the London system with the dark square bishop getting out from behind the pawn chain often does lead to this c4 opening. And I mean the c4 move, which is technically the English opening if you make that move on move 1. So yeah, of the connections of geography and chess, London systems often lead to English-style openings, etc., etc. Anyway, I was thinking about every move and not memorizing at this point. Like, I know it's called the London system, but it wasn't really a system. It's just sort of principles that I'm using to play. And then, c4. But this is the move I really thought about. Because you never like a knight on your side of the board. Knights have so many possibilities, as Akili Bashige likes to say. Knights have so many possibilities. So when they're on your side of the board, it makes you really feel uncomfortable. Each one of these squares the knight can go to is defended. At least on my side of the board, he can retreat. So I felt okay with doing this. But this was the pivotal move of the game to me, in my mind. And I thought he was going to recapture with that queen. And my plan was if he did recapture with the queen, well, then I can immediately put pressure on the queen. Pressure on the queen was always a theme in this game. But he didn't capture with the queen because evidently he wanted to keep his queen back. And so this recapture was not a line that I'd calculated that deeply. And so we went into that. This pawn I was able to keep. And ended up being the difference in the game. Because right here, I'm thinking if I recapture this knight, I don't really have any choice. You don't want to go down a knight, so I have to recapture. But I am definitely thinking about this pawn already and wanting to protect it. Luckily, he took with the knight. Honestly, we're even at this point. This was greedy on his part, unless he really wanted to exchange knight for bishop. And maybe he likes bishops in the endgame, or maybe he dislikes his opponent having knights in the endgame that much that he really wanted to force this trade. But to me, and we'll see what the computer says, the computer doesn't care about that trade, but to me that was a mistake, and that left that pawn in the center of the board where he could have recaptured and brought the queen out, and the queen on that diagonal with the bishop on the long diagonal. That would have been tough. That would have been tough to deal with, but didn't happen like that. And then lo and behold, this was another move I was really proud of finding, because my initial thought after this pawn, the computer Fishy wants the rook to cover that pawn. Obviously, I'm thinking about protecting the pawn. There's several ways to do it. My first thought was to move the queen onto the d file, but this was a much better move because it threatens an unprotected pawn on my opponent's side, and it protects a pawn on my side. And so he's forced to bring his queen out there. This is where I thought the queen exchange was going to come. It did not happen here for a handful of reasons, which we can get into. But yeah, just prolong the pressure of this pawn in the center of the board. And the longer the game goes on, with a pawn advanced like that, the more pressure it becomes for the opposite side. And we'll see from move, 35 on, I was under pressure this whole time because his queen is very far advanced. I'm on the back rank. All the rest of the exchanges happen, but his pawns aren't. I mean, this is a great pawn structure. This is a fine pawn structure for the defense of his king. And if there were some other pieces on the board, maybe a knight to complement this, or a really good bishop, would have made this tough to beat in the end game. As it stood, all he had was really his queen, and he threw checks at me for like 10 plus moves, but the queen can't do it alone. This was another mistake on my part. This mistake almost blew the game for me, and this is why you need to study to make sure you don't make this in the end game. I thought this was relatively indifferent when he captured this pawn and threw a check. That pawn exchange had to happen because checkmate at this point is not far away from me. So if I don't take this pawn here on e3, then I'm in big trouble. And then when he throws this check, I'm thinking I can get out of this check either way. F or H works. Turns out not really, because F loses this pawn, which the computer doesn't see. Oh, he does see it. Yeah, and that pawn almost cost me the game. But, you know, like I said, the queen can't do it alone. Queen can't do it alone. And I was able to survive long enough and defend using my queen while protecting the pawn on d6. And that was essentially the game. A few moves later, like I said, this deflection, which happened in the queen exchange, was the deciding move. So yeah, Bravehearts heal quickly. Happy to be back. I should be doing these videos with analysis pretty consistently, at least for the next 6-7 days prior to the tournament on next Friday. I'll probably take next Thursday off. So yeah, I don't know, 5-6 days times 2 videos a day, maybe 10 to 12 analysis coming at you, coming your way. Hopefully they'll all be wins. Maybe I'll go back and analyze the heartbreak game from earlier today. I don't know if I will. Anyway, thank you for tuning in. Command, Control, Escape.